Consistency. We have an innate desire for things to be both consistent and chaotic. Without consistency, everything seems alien and uncomfortable. Without chaos, life can become boring and mundane. Video games have to master both of these to keep some level of normalcy and bring chaos into it from time to time. One small example from Risk of Rain 2 are the stages. You get the same maps, but there are slight tweaks to them to keep them unique and different, and there are different maps for each stage, making it different except for on stage 5. You can go even deeper and go into the enemies, the boxes, the items, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that games have to have consistency with chaos. Acrid's playstyle is an abnormality and rather chaotic. And of course, more experienced players can draw consistency out of the character and make the more average playstyle seem chaotic in contrast. But it still stands as one of the most weird and interesting ways to play the game. Well, most characters are weird and interesting in their own way. Loader is Spider-Man, Artificer is... Can we get much higher? Bandit is...
I like it, Kudgy.
Railgunner is...
No, get the camera!
And then there's the Commando. Unless you played at a friend's house or something first, your first experience with Risk of Rain 2 was probably with this guy. And to be honest, it felt like... cardboard. Which is a common opinion I see in communities about Risk of Rain 2. Most people leave the character and then come back later for one thing. Consistency. After hundreds of hours of trying new characters and playing with these weird, wacky, interesting enemies and characters, you kind of want to go back to something a little dull, but overall consistent and grounded, literally. Most of those wacky characters you tried out while you were away from Commando have their upsides and drawbacks to each of them. Bandit is burst, Railgunner has tunnel vision, Captain has immobility, Rex has low damage, and the list goes on except for Commando and maybe Multi. Commando has no severe drawbacks or downsides, he just sprays bullets at the bad guys. Maybe even grenades if you look at his alternate abilities. Out of all 3 alternate abilities, 2 of them feel like side grades and 1 of them feels like a straight upgrade. His secondary phase round is a piercing bullet doing 300% damage and is replaced with phase blast, making it a shotgun that does 400% damage total in 2 bursts. His utility tactical dive is replaced with tactical slide, which has the same cooldown, allowing him to slide while shooting and moving farther. And finally, his special suppressive fire, which stuns any enemy hit, doing 100% damage per shot, is replaced with frag grenade, allowing you to yeet a grenade doing 700% damage. Now, we're going to play a little mini game here, guys. Which one is better than their original counterpart? Phase blast, tactical slide, or frag grenade? And if you chose Tactical Slide, you are correct. Tactical Slide just is better, because it's the same cooldown, you move farther, and you can shoot while doing it. I don't know why they did this. Honestly, if they changed the cooldowns around, like if Tactical Dive had like a 2-second cooldown, it'd probably be better. Now, depending on the game mode and the abilities you run, not all items will be built the same. If you haven't noticed, I have a personal favorite build. Almost all these clips that you've seen up until now are all the same build because I just personally don't like frag grenade or phase blasts myself. So if you use my build, AoE is going to be your best friend since you don't have much AoE on your own. Stuff like Will-O-Wisp, Gasoline, Ukulele are basically a necessity. And if you run the opposite items, the Bands, ATG, and Chronobaubles are very nice. And probably stun grenades for those stone titans over there, because if you're going Eclipse with this, then you're gonna be shot a lot. In general, all of these items are very helpful because Commando is a very consistent character. I think this is especially apparent with all the Void items, because you can grab any Void item with him, and it's not going to make or break your build. It's always going to be pretty alright. The only Void items I would say aren't as great on him are the Splinter Cell glasses, because if you're going Eclipse, again, they're not going to help you much against Mithrix. In a longer run though, they're going to be pretty fun. I like running them. I'll also say that he gets major use out of Plasma Shrimps and Needle Ticks, because it builds damage with him very well, considering his attack speed. But just looking at what his best normal items are, if I had to give you a list, I'd say Soldier Syringes, ATG, Leeching Seeds, Shattering Justice, Molten Perforator, and of course my favorite is the Needle Tick. If you guys can tell, that's every item in the game except for Lunar, because fuck Lunar. A focus on attack speed and procs is a good way to use Commando. But again, he is consistent, so it's not the only way. Shit, I relied on spare drone parts for my Eclipse 8 run with him. I'm not even kidding. I actually had to wait for my drones to do most of the damage to Mithrix. In short, a focus on attack speed is nice, but it isn't the end all of the character. Interesting segue. Considering how Commando is floorbound and can't jump good, or fly like Artificer, the map selection can really make or break an Eclipse run. Personally, ones I would stay away from is Aquamarine Sanctuary and Mushroom Forest. And sometimes it's not the map that's the problem, and sometimes it doesn't even make a difference altogether. Sometimes it's the enemies on the map that can really screw your run over. And a little side note here, cause I just need to get this off my chest. I really hate Sirens Call right now. It hurts my soul to ever play on that on Eclipse, because if you haven't played Eclipse, they have perma shield. The boss you spawn in to get your legendary item has a perma shield. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. It's about a 4-second interval between each shielding after it's half health, just to get your boss item, which is really lame because you could have just gone to, I don't know, any of the other maps and just farmed the money, which is still annoying after Eclipse 6, I think, but it's still better than this. But speaking of bosses, some of the bosses I've talked about in a video prior, and I still stand behind that in most ways because it was made in the idea of being in a monsoon run, not an Eclipse run. But in Eclipse, it is so annoying to go up against grandparents, especially with your limited range and your fall off. You kinda just can't do anything unless you have a legend near it, and sometimes you just don't. Or sometimes you hit a mountain shrine because you're greedy and you want the extra items, and you throw your run out the window because you're an idiot, which has happened to me more times than I care to count. And sometimes you just get the Imp Overlord on stage 4. Unlike a lot of characters, Commando has to spray down his enemies, which means that while you're sliding around and this Imp throws its spikes at you, you're probably going to run into a few of them, and sometimes that can just outright kill you because it bleeds you so bad, which can just be so sad. And I know I don't talk about him all too much in the other videos, but I'll talk about Mithrix here, because he's a bit of a doozy. Since again, you have less than stellar burst, you're going to have to keep yourself out of his range for longer than the average Joe. Well, actually, you are playing the average Joe, so never mind. You have to do it for the exact time that you'd be as an average Joe. So just keep your patience about you and try to keep your hands on your utility and only use it when necessary. I've been caught out way too many times trying to use my utility to just move around, and then I just get smacked to the nether realm. Ideally, you'd get your hands on some hoopoo feathers and try to jump around and keep him from smacking you down. And again, it's just about waiting. And waiting. And a little bit of waiting. And just a tad bit of waiting. Just a little bit more waiting. And just some more waiting. I'll admit, the art of spraying stuff down for the entirety of the universe can be a bit of an acquired taste. Most people usually ditch him to go to the different characters and get deeper into the game, and some people might not ever come back to him. But getting back into him makes him feel a lot more fresh and more fun, something more unique. If you guys have been hours into the game and haven't come back to him, I implore you to try him again, because sometimes it's just nice to be consistent. Hey guys, so here's a little bit of the guy behind the camera, I guess. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe if you think it was worth it. If you guys didn't like the video, subscribe and then unsubscribe to hurt my feelings, and leave a comment why you didn't like it, and also dislike, because obviously you're probably gonna do that anyway. But yeah, the big thing is I need to learn to get better, obviously, so it's a big thing to tell me what you didn't like about it, because I can't really improve if I don't get criticism. And I really hope you guys have a great day.